What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, we got a new set of leaks for not Resident Evil Village, not Resident Evil 4's remake, but Resident Evil Outrage. So if you guys saw, remember when Capcom was hacked, the big data breach, which I do not condone, I don't think is a good thing whatsoever, but at the same time, we did get a lot of new information from it, and Resident Evil Outrage was one of them. It was part of their, every year we get a Resident Evil game, okay? And obviously Resident Evil 4's remake was supposed to be 2022. It was supposed to be next year, but now that's been pushed, right? Because remember, it shifted who's actually making it. So Resident Evil Outrage is next. Well, our old friend Dusk Golem, aka Aesthetic Gamer. Actually, it's the other way around. It's Aesthetic Gamer, aka Dusk Golem. But we've talked about him many times in the past. I've covered this on my second channel as well. He posted a thing that I think is very interesting when it comes to Resident Evil Outrage. So we're going to go over what he said. We'll talk about, I guess, if it's believable. I do trust this guy. I wouldn't talk about him so much if I didn't actually believe him, and we'll go from there. If you guys do like this stuff, make sure you're subscribed, the bell icon turned on. And like I said, I tend to talk about this stuff quite often on my second channel, so if you guys haven't subscribed there yet, Podcast Now Plus is its name. I'll leave a link for it in the description below. All right, so somebody asked about it basically, and he said, "This is not from me, but for the record, Revelations 3 is coming out within a year of Village's release date." So it's really Revelations 3, either late 2020 or early 2021. It probably won't be called Revelations 3. The name we know it now as is Resident Evil Outrage, but it was Revelations 3 at one point in development at the very least. Releases as part of their 25th anniversary celebration, along with Village, almost definitely going to be a Switch timed exclusive, but that'll be announced later this year. For now, Village is deserving of all the attention and out in just a few months. So two big parts of that. Number one, it's really Revelations 3. No matter what Outrage wants to be called, or no matter what it wants to be as, it's going to be Revelations 3. Number two, it's coming out next year, most likely, at least to start, a timed exclusive for the Nintendo Switch. Now, that makes sense. The first Revelations game was an exclusive game for Nintendo as well. So you look at the history there, makes sense. Again, I believe him. It's not like, to be honest with you, it's not like when we go over Reddit or when we go over, 4chan or whatever, and we say, okay, well, do we have to look at this a little bit more critically to see if this guy is telling the truth? I think this guy does know what he's talking about. He is normally right. Sometimes what he says happens much, and I can keep going later. So sometimes he's very behind, or the things that he talks about ends up getting delayed or pushed, but he's right most of the time. So I really do believe this guy. That's exciting. Now, a thing I'm confused about, and you die-hard Resident Evil fans will have to let me know. Maybe people won't know if this video doesn't do big enough. Maybe nobody will be able to tell me, but I believe this guy specifically, Dusk Golem, I feel like with Village, remember, Village is not technically Resident Evil 8. There was a lot of talk early on when Village got announced that Capcom doesn't even want people calling it, even though, Village, Roman numerally, I guess if that's a phrase you want to use, like that, literally, and they've even shown it off, showing 8, and then it turns into Village, or showing Village, which turns into 8, right? So, however you want to look at it. So, that was weird, but I believe, and this is something that's kind of a deep cut, I thought that at some point Village was also Revelations 3, that it started as Revelations 3, and then it became something else. So I'm pretty sure this is the second time now I've heard him say that a game that once was Revelations 3 became something else. I'm not saying that as I doubt him because of that. I'm just saying maybe it really is true, and it's something where Capcom just wants to make 3, and then people start to make it, and they're like, yeah, that's cool, but let's switch it over into a different game because we really don't actually want 3 to ever come out. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting to see how that actually pans out, and if people start calling it Revelations 3, and they're like, no, it's called Outrage, or it's called whatever the game may end up being. But also the fact that he says that it could release actually at the end of this year, so 2 Resident Evil games in the same year. That would kind of be crazy. Would it be overkill? I would go so far to say yes. I'm all for, and I've been very supportive of what they've done really ever since 7, ever since Biohazard, even with the idea of doing yearly releases, mixing in remakes, all that stuff. I've been fine with it. I don't think they've really suffered from coming out every single year, especially because they just have a lot of different teams working on them. But I think just I don't know, it's my opinion. It's definitely just my opinion. If you don't agree, that's okay. I don't think I need more than one Resident Evil game in a year. It's kind of like if you had Call of Duty, and although the Call of Duty games, let's say, would be very, very different, would you want 2 of them in the same year? Would you want 2 Battlefields? Would you want 2 sports games? Now, again, those, like, the quality of sports games is very different than this. Obviously, that would just be the biggest disaster on planet Earth. But you know what I mean? I just don't think there's that much need for. I think yearly is fine. And remember, next year was supposed to be 4's remake. That was supposed to be next year, and I believe Outrage was the year after. I don't even remember where that was in the list of all the games coming out, but because RE4's remake is pushed, well, now that opens up next year, so Outrage, I guess, takes its spot. So we'll have to see, again, like how all this stuff boils down. They do these things very fast. Like when Village comes out, I would give it only a couple months probably after that. I would say around August, September, October, we'd probably get the next one. We would get the announcement of the next one. And honestly, remember, Village was announced last June, and that's only because Resident Evil 3's remake came out earlier in the year. I believe that game came out in January, right? So, or I think maybe February, and I think Resident Evil 2's remake was in January, and Resident Evil 3's remake was announced pretty early that year too. So they get these games out, they announce the next one like 2 to 4 months after, let's say. So this game comes out late May. Again, yeah, I think honestly August, September, October, somewhere around there, we have the next, we would know what Outrage is, we know what it's called, we would know when it's coming out, we would know. Now, the Nintendo Switch exclusive thing, I don't think is going to make everybody happy. In fact, it probably won't make many people happy. I do think if you have a Nintendo Switch, you probably have other consoles. I think there are people that have a Nintendo Switch that only have a Switch. I think that's probably very likely, right? I have a Switch. I would play it exclusively on the Switch. I mean, look, if it's like a month, 2 months, 3 months exclusive, I mean, you kind of have to, don't you? I mean, if you have a Switch, it's pretty easy. I'm not saying go buy a Switch just for this game, but that would be a tough thing because I don't know how many people that maybe are diehard Resident Evil fans that maybe played it on PlayStations or Xboxes before. I don't know how many people of them have a Switch and would be okay with it. I mean, it doesn't. To be honest with you, it doesn't matter what we think. At the end of the day, if it's coming out as a Switch exclusive, like a timed exclusive, it is. We're not gonna stop it, okay? But I just don't know how happy that's gonna make too many people. For me personally, don't really care all that much. I will play it day one anyway. I do have a Switch, so it'll be completely fine. So let me know in the comments below, guys. What do you think? What do you think about the Revelations 3 stuff? What do you think about being a Switch game to start? You know, do you have a Switch? Would you be okay with that? Let me know. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed. Bell icon turned on so you know all these videos go up. Again, if you guys want to subscribe to my second channel, Podcast Now Plus is its name. The link for it will be in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I hope to see you all on the next video.